Welcome back to SwitchStars everybody, my name's Luke, and once again I'm back to talk about the topic of Switch scam games. And if you've been watching for a while, you'll know that since starting the channel, unlike many other Switch channels, I've actually put a lot of content out focused around the sheer shittiness of the Nintendo Switch eShop and the shocking amount of shovelware shite, asset flips, and in the past year especially, these scam games. Now, for many these kind of games are little more than an annoyance. They see them on the Switch eShop and skip over them, or see them on sale for a couple of quid and then buy them, only to find out that they're shite, but think, hey, it was only $1, so not really a big loss, right? The problem is that this is exactly what these companies are relying on. They release titles which barely constitute as games, price them at $20, then almost permanently slash the prices by 90%, meaning they constantly show up in the top sales list, and they also pack the titles of these games with keywords, meaning they always show up in searches, so in essence there's no escaping them. This not only makes it incredibly difficult for customers to identify decent games on the eShop, it also severely damages the sales and discoverability of smaller indie games, something that I've always had a passion for. And so today I'm going to be talking about the current state of affairs with regards to the main players in this ring of scammers, and hopefully educating you enough to be able to avoid them. Now, thanks to the controversy caused by the recently released and now de-released The Last Hope, it seems like more people are aware of their existence, and on the one hand I'm extremely happy about this as I have a very small audience in comparison to some of the big dogs. But on the other hand, it's also gripped my shit a little, as I've been shouting about these kind of games for years, and it's taken a knockoff of a AAA title for bigger outlets to now speak up about it, or as the case may be, jump on the bandwagon and feign outrage about the situation and the audacity of these so-called developers, all in an attempt to siphon some views from the controversy. Now, please don't mistake my frustration here for bitterness. I'm not trying to pass moral judgment on other creators or discredit their efforts here, and I have no doubt that there are other creators who, like me, genuinely give a shit that this kind of stuff is happening. But The Last Hope isn't the only game that this group of publishers have knocked off. We also have Deep Space, which is clearly supposed to be Dead Space, World of Deadliest Catch, a game which released nearly a full year before an official Deadliest Catch game, Gangster Life Criminal Untold, which is clearly attempting to be a GTA knockoff, Motorcycle Driving Simulator, which originally contained stolen screenshots from GTA 5 and Cyberpunk 2077, and Demolished Derby, an absolutely horrendous game knocking off one of my all-time favourites, Destruction Derby. But these knockoffs aren't the real issue here. This problem lies with the fact that all of the games that these publishers release feature either fake screenshots and/or misleading descriptions, meaning that unlike asset flips or shovelware, unless you're aware of their existence, there's no way to actually know that you're buying a scam. Now, this scam game situation has been going on for well over a year now, and it all started with the release of Cop Car Police Simulation Chase in January 2022 by a publisher called Midnight Works, a game which I covered at the time on the channel, and after covering several more of their titles, followed up with a video titled Midnight Works, the Nintendo Switch eShop's biggest scammer. I was recently issued a false copyright takedown notice for this video as Midnight Works attempted to silence me, even going so far as including a letter to YouTube in the emails stating that the video contained false and defamatory statements about the company which seriously decredit their reputation, violates their privacy and makes them look bad. But in my opinion, it's the games that make them look bad, and I'm just providing a public service by highlighting both them and the disingenuous activities of the publishers, and if they weren't so deceitful with their eShop listings for them, then none of this would have happened. Now, I did in fact report Cop Car Police Simulator to Nintendo at the time, who assured me it would be passed on to a team to investigate and who, unsurprisingly, wouldn't provide me a refund for it. But as of now, nothing has been done about the eShop listing and the same fake bullshit is still present. Setting aside all of this though, let's now talk about the current state of affairs on the eShop when it comes to scam games, and allow me to enlighten you all on just how far things have progressed since my first video on the subject. Now, to preempt any backlash from Midnight Works or any of the other publishers I'm about to mention, I'm going to state for the record that a lot of what I'm about to say is either formed from my own opinions or interpretations of the evidence that I've gathered, based entirely on the facts that I've been presented with, and is information that I feel is in the public interest to be aware of. With that said and out of the way though, there are now 5 main players in the scam game ring. Those being the OG Dogs, Midnight Works, Instamarketing and Game, VG Games, Desvault Games, and Go Game Console Publisher. And each of these share a bunch of common traits and, from what I've seen, are potentially linked to one another. To start with though, let's cover off the obvious stuff that I've already mentioned. All of the games contain titles packed full of high traffic keywords which often have nothing to do with the games themselves but make them show up in searches, and all of them contain some form of misinformation, be that fake screenshots or embellished or misleading descriptions which often mention features not present in the games themselves. Between them, these publishers have shat out nearly 100 so-called games, ranging from straight up asset flips, such as to near identical beat 'em up titles created using the same beat 'em up game template, or to near identical fighting games created using the universal fighting engine, to knockoffs like The Last of Us, and straight up shovelware titles like Monster Impossible Truck or the recently released Subway Simulator. All of the games I've played thus far though have been low effort cash grabs with barely any gameplay to speak of. Now, when it comes to how the companies are actually linked to one another, my research is still going on with this one and it's been difficult to form solid connections, so it's purely speculation, but this is what I've been able to find out so far. Midnight Works are the most well established of the bunch and go by the trading name Midnight Works SRL, and the company address is listed as being in Iasi in the Republic of Moldova. Their connection to Instamarketing and Games comes from the fact that they previously listed themselves as a holding company on their official website under which InstaShop was listed, and InstaShop trades under the name Instamarketing and Game SRL, who just so happen to reside at the exact same address as Midnight Works. Now, VG Games, or West Connection Limited as they're known in the US, are also based in Moldova and are another publishing company linked directly to Midnight Works as being one of their investment projects, again as can be seen on their official Midnight Works website. Desvault Games have been linked to Midnight Works through their PR or user acquisition management emails which they sent to Alex at Switch Corner, where they've been requesting pricing for promotion of Desvault Games titles. But there's also something a little shady going on here, as in their emails for Hooligan Simulator, they specifically requested promotion for their game, despite Hooligan Simulator being a Desvault Games title, but the company profile for Desvault Games lists them as residing in neighbouring country Romania. Finally, Go Game Console Publisher is perhaps the most tenuous link of them all. Their company profile lists them as being located in London, England, however the company director is listed as being Romanian-born Maria Karos, but the hastily thrown together website features word for word the exact same lines of text copied and pasted from West Connection Limited's website. So despite the limited amount of information I've managed to gather, it does appear as though all 5 of these companies share some form of connection beyond the obvious eShop listings, and what exactly that is I can only speculate and can't say for certain, but what I can say is that all of them are operating on the same business model. Throw together a game, publish it on the Switch with a bunch of high traffic keywords in the title, add in a few fake screenshots, then pack as much bullshit into the description as is humanly possible. Couple this with permanent discounts and you have the perfect recipe for an eShop scam. Now, several of these companies have sprung up in this year alone, which makes me think that they've had a reasonable amount of success so far and there are more yet to come. but one particularly interesting observation made by James Stephanie Sterling in her recent Jimquisition video on The Last of Us ripoff is that these low-effort wankers aren't even attempting to rip off the titles that they're based on, they're just pretending to. And that alone causes so much of an uproar that all of the big outlets end up covering the game with their outrage on it, thus driving up sales. And it really doesn't matter whether Sony or any future IP holders sweep in to issue copyright takedown notices. In the end, people have still bought the game to see what all the fuss is about, and so these publishers have still made a mint of them. Meanwhile, there are 100 other scam games sat on the eShop that nobody's talking about, slowly generating profits, and even Nintendo themselves couldn't give two shits about the situation. So really, who is to blame here? The publishers for creating these shams and attempting to pass them off as legitimate games, conning people into buying them with the deceitful eShop listings, Nintendo for allowing it to happen, or perhaps even us the customers for buying them? From what I understand, Nintendo themselves don't actually have a quality assurance team for the eShop, and instead have something called third-party partnership teams who are apparently responsible for certifying games, ensuring that they comply with legal requirements and thus circumventing the requirement for any lengthy greenlighting process. But I for one can't fathom how this is even possible, given the fact that both the Consumer Rights Act of 2015 and consumer protection laws in the US state that digital products must be of satisfactory quality, fit for purpose, and as described. And considering most of these games are, in my opinion, of poor quality, are barely even fit to be considered games, and their eShop descriptions contain a load of bollocks, I'd say that at the very least they don't comply with one of these criteria, if not all of them in some instances. To sum it all up though, this scam game problem is a growing one, and it's been growing exponentially, with 3 of these companies taking root since the start of 2023 alone. But the solution to this problem lies not only in the hands of Nintendo, who are undoubtedly aware of their presence but as of yet have failed to do anything about them, but also in you, the customer, who sees these games on sale and thinks, for a quid they might be worth a go. And it's this mindset and perhaps a lack of awareness that is driving these companies to keep on making them and profiting from their presence on the eShop. In this video though, I've aimed to make you aware of the situation, and hopefully I've managed to achieve this to some extent, because this problem is not going away, and by continuing to support these publishers, we're not only condoning their actions, but also damaging the gaming market as a whole, in my opinion, as, like I said, indie developers are already struggling to get the games noticed, and the continuous presence of publishers like Midnight Works & Co on the eShop only makes things harder for them, with a limited visibility impacting the sales, and in turn, potentially the success and future as game developers and publishers. Now, if any of what I've mentioned today has struck a chord with you, I'd really appreciate you sharing the video in whatever way you can. It not only helps me out as a channel, but also makes more people aware of the issue, and hopefully if enough of us kick and scream about it, Nintendo will take note and actually do something about it. If this video helped you out though, do me the honours of dropping a like, and if you want to know more, be sure to check out some of my other videos on the subject, which I've linked down below, alongside my Scam Games playlist for you to see just how bad some of these games are. For now though, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all my latest Nintendo Switch content. Thanks once again for watching, take care of yourselves, and game on.